Welcome back. My name is Darren Thomas, and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this particular video, we're going to be looking at how to highlight data points using two different methods using Python. So let's go ahead and see what we can learn. So you can see I'm already inside Jupyter, our IDE for this particular example, and we're going to be focusing on using, highlighting points using Python. So let's go ahead and pull our various libraries that we're going to be using. So we're just going to go ahead and copy and paste it in here. So we're going to be using Seaborn for our data visualization. That's in the first line. In the last line, we're also going to be using some matplotlib at times. And of course, our data is going to come from our PyData set, and we're going to import the data function, which will allow us to pull our actual data. Now, the data preparation is very simple. We're going to use a data set called Prestige, but we're going to save it as an object called df. So we're using the data function. Remember, that came from this cell up here. And this is the name of the data set right here that we're pulling from the data function. And we're going to take a quick peek at it using the .head method. All right, so here's what it looks like. In the first column, we have the names of the rows. So these are different positions. Then you have these 6 different variables. Education, income, women, and prestige are all continuous variables. Also, census also is a continuous variable, and type is a categorical variable. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to plot income and education, I believe. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at how you can highlight a specific data point that you want. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. This will make a lot more sense as you see the code and see the example. So let's do the hard coding one. After we finish the hard coding example, we will then take a look at how to do this programmatically. So what I mean by hard coding is when you specifically tell Python which dot to highlight, which is one way to do it. So the first thing we're doing is we're filtering our data so that we only have types that are professional. This just helps to clear out the actual plot so you don't have so many dots. Now in these second 2 lines right here, this is what we're doing. We're going to color something. We're making an object called prof_colors, and we're going to color something orange or orangered if education equals 12.26 and if income equals 25,879. This is kind of like our X and Y values. And these values right here come from this row of data right here in our little preview of the data set. You can see education is clearly 12.26 and income is clearly 25,879. So this is the one we're trying to highlight manually. That's what we're doing here. And so this row of data is going to be colored orange. That's what's happening right here. And all the other dots are going to be colored light gray. So to make this as simple as possible, this is like an if-else statement right here. If make something orange if education equals 12.26 and income equals 25,879. Else make it light gray. And this is where it's going to be pulling it from for education and income in this little zip function right here. And this is where it's coming from. df_prof.education, df_prof.income, which is coming from this data up here that we filter for only professional types. Now, after we run that, which I could probably show you what that looks like. That might make more sense. Let's see here. Okay. So I'll show you that in a second. So wait, I could do it like this. So what I can do now is I'll just show you what this looks like for the sake of being thorough, but this isn't necessary. And then we're just going to take a quick look at this. So first, we're going to look at prof_colors. And you can see right here, see how you have one call that's colored orange here. That's our second value. And then all the rest are colored light gray. That's all that's showing you. So we can delete this now. Don't need it. Don't need it. Clear that. Okay, now what's happening right here is we're setting up our actual data visualization. So we're using cborn or cns.regplot. On the x-axis is going to be education. On the y-axis is going to be income. The data we're using is df_prof, which is coming from right here, which is our DF data set, filtered only to show professional job types. Fit_reg means that we do not want a regression line in this particular example. And then scatter_KWS, this is where we tell it what to do. Face colors are going to be defined by colors, prof_colors, and then we set an alpha, which is like setting the transparency to 0.7. Then of course we show it with plt.show, that method. So take a look at this. And so now you can see all these grays down here in our star. This little guy right here, it's a nice, dark orange. And so this is how you hard code this particular example. Now the problem with hard coding is that if my data changes, the same value is always hard coded. And so if your data is dynamic, that can be a problem. Also, you might not know what the highest value is or whichever one you're looking for as an example, which can also make it challenging to figure out which dot you want to highlight, again, as an example. So there's also a way to do this programmatically, which is what we're going to look at real quick right here. So with programmatically, you're using a slightly different approach to allow Python to find the value you want and to map it for you automatically. So we're just going to rerun our data right here. Well, we're pulling only the professional job types. That's in the first line of code there. And then we're going to create another object called max income, max_income, which is going to look inside our new data set that we just created, the income variable, and to find the highest value. That's what we're doing here, because that's essentially what we did right here. This is the highest value salary here. So we're not worried about the education value so much. The reason we pulled the education value is because we need 2 data points, or 2 dimensions, because there are 2 dimensions in our plot. That's why. All right, now, next we're going to set up a new column called point_type, in which it says it finds highest income if income equals max income. Now remember, max income comes from up here. We found this right here. And we're going to make that one, the one we choose, and all the else are going to be called others. So highest income is going to be called highest income if it equals max_income, and then all the rest are going to be labeled as others. That's what we're doing here. For income in df_proof.income. That's what we're doing here. So it's if else statement, and this is kind of our for loop, I guess you can call it that. And so what I'll do now is I'm just going to, for fun, show you all these points, and then we will run the plot after that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and run this. All right, don't worry about the error message, trust me, it worked. So max_income, you can see that's max_income 25879. And so if we look at df proof dot point type, you can see right there. All right, so general managers has the highest income right there, and see how they're all clearly labeled as others, the rest of them. That's how we want it, exactly. And remember also that all of these are the professional job types. There are other types of jobs, but we only pull the professional job types. So now that you've seen all that, let's go ahead and run our actual data. Just going to clear this out for the sake of simplicity. All right, let's run this. Okay, so you can see right there, the same data type is colored orange as in the previous example. However, now it's dynamic. So if our data changes, our orange colored dot will also change as well. And if I wanted to, I could, put in the, the alpha if I wanted to kind of give it that transparency. That really doesn't matter. But you can see here that we got the same output without having to manually hand code the value that we wanted. Also notice how they give us this little legend right here for clarity. That's also nice to have. We could have added that in the other one, but we did not. And so now you are starting to see how this can work. So we have the same 2 plots. This one was programmed automatically, and this one was hand coded, and you get the same results either way. Which one is better? It really depends on what you're trying to do. If your data is changing, you want to use something that's more programmatic. That's a better choice. If your data is more static and it's not going to change, hard coding is appropriate. But you'll get to the same destination either way. What determines the road you take is the context. So let me summarize what we've learned and move on and wrap up this video. So in this particular video, we were focused on how to code our data so that it will highlight different data points depending on what we want to know. And so we loaded our libraries, we prepared our data, and we did two different methods. One was hard coding, in which we tell Python specifically which particular data point we want to be highlighted. And that involved using the if-else statement, identifying our X and our Y value, and running it through a for loop, if you will, so that it could find it in our data as we desire. We then set up our data here for the actual plot, and then here it is below. The second approach is where we allow Python to find the highest data, the data point that we wanted, by coding for it, letting Python determine that value. And so right here is where we set up the process, find the max income, and then we plug that into our if-else statement, and we were able to find the same value the same way, set up our plot in the code below, and of course, you can see the output right here. So again, I want to thank you so much for listening and watching. My name is Darren Thomas. I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Thank you again for watching, and you take care.